Hello everyone. For this video, I will be focusing on monitoring assessment across threaded venues. And for this, I will be referencing Fuch and Chen's Chapter 3 submission to the Blended Learning Toolkit found on the University of Central Florida's website. And what I actually did was to pull up the PDF version of this because it's on a website, but I find it easier to work with the PDF version for explaining the concepts. So in pulling up the PDF version, which of course is the same information found on the website, the authors starts off with questions to ponder. For example, when you're working with blended learning or blended instruction situations, some of the questions you have to ask, for example, is how much of the final grade do you typically allot to testing? What expectations do you have for online assessments? What trade-offs does one see between the affordances of, for example, auto scored online quizzes and project-based assessments? And 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 also how will the instructor implement formal and informal assessments of learning in a blended course? So now, in a blended learning classes like any other, when teaching takes place, it's imperative that assessment is provided to check the depth of students' learning. Um, that involves looking back at the learning objectives and design documents, for example, the course blueprint or the course outline, um, to help the instructor to answer these questions. Because ultimately, one wants to find out how well does the course make connection between learning objectives, course activities, for example, selection of site tools to accomplish the assignments, and how well does face-to-face or out of class time for learning complement each other. Now, in this regard, it's important to ensure that learning is transferable and that learning also takes on a practical application. Um, as an instructor, one would have to make sure that the objectives are made clear to the students. And as far as learning standards are concerned, these are addressed um, or ought to be addressed rather as it relates to real life application so that the students can better understand the materials that are covered. Now, in terms of assessment, there are two types of assessment, and I'm going to quickly go through this. Formal assessments and informal assessments. Formal assessments provide basically a systematic way to measure students' progress. These types of assessments also contribute to final grade. And then informal assessments generally provide the teacher with the ability to gauge the student's comprehension. Some examples of formal assessments are quizzes, things like multiple choices, um, things like essays and academic prompts, and also projects, as their project-based learning is an important part of allowing students to be able to answer real-world questions or come up with solutions for real-world situations based on the content that they were or the concepts that they explored in class. And then in terms of informal assessments, things like one sentence summaries where students can summarize some concepts or a particular concept that they covered, and just write a paragraph to say what they understood or didn't understand or things of that nature. And also um, students generated test questions. I really like this one. This of all of the informal assessment, this one stand out to me because it's asked the student. For example, one could ask the students to create 3 to 5 test questions, and by doing this, the instructor will get the benefit of seeing the course content that the students think is important compared to the content that the instructor, him or herself, think is important. Now, this this information that I found really helped me to um, you know, find practical ways of, or implement rather practical ways in terms of conducting assessments in a blended learning situation. Now, thank you for watching my video. I wish I could explain more, but the time has passed. Thanks again.